I wanted to thank you both for coming on the show today to talk about this show that's got everybody so excited. And I was wondering if we could start with you, Maggie. Tell us a little bit about this show and how it came into being.
Yeah, thanks, Dave, and thanks for having us. This show is a personal tale that I've taken a little bit of artistic license with. As a 45-year-old woman, struggling with the beauty standards and the pressures that we face as women. But in my 30s, I dabbled a little bit with Botox and fillers, and it did actually make me feel better. But I got to a point where I was like, when does this stop? And I was also embarking on a spiritual journey of self-acceptance, and the two seem to be at loggerheads. So, yeah, I'm really, also being an actor, but just being a woman in society, I'm really interested in how women, all women, really fantastically intelligent women, are still under so much pressure to scrutinize their bodies and just wanting to lose that extra kilo. And yeah, I'm really interested in what we need to do to embrace stepping into the wise woman.
Definitely. And Ngaire, tell us a little bit about how you became involved with the show as well.
Great. Of course. So Maggie and I went to drama school many moons ago. And at the end of third year, we all had to do kind of like a monologue show about ourselves, a personal show. And Maggie did this amazing performance that she'd written herself, obviously. And she talked for years and years about wanting to make it into a full one-woman show. Although, it's quite far removed from what that original idea was now, all these years later. But basically, I'm in LA, Maggie's in Melbourne, and she just said, I really want to, now's the time, COVID, there's so much restriction, and we can film it and we can put it online. It's part of the Adelaide Fringe Festival. So that's kind of how we got together. Maggie sent me all her notes, script ideas, and I just looked through it all and was like, yeah, we have a real beating heart here. There's a great message and a beautiful, funny, radiant story. And so I was really excited to be a part of it.
Maggie, for you yourself, when you sat down to work on this show, did you find it difficult to work on because it was so personal, or did that actually make it easier?
No, I didn't actually, because I have been on this healing journey, and I've gotten to a certain point where I've healed enough of it that I was able to dive in. If it had been even 18 months ago, 12 months ago, no, I don't think I would have been able to do it. But just, I worked really hard on it, and I just got to the point where I'm like, it's more important to me to share this than to be ashamed of it and try and hide it away in the dark. So, no, it was actually a real joy.
We anticipated a lot of roadblocks along the way, it being really emotional, but Maggie just dove in, and I think her excitement about it, it just flew by.
Definitely. And Ngaire, you talked a little bit before about this being part of the Adelaide Fringe, and of course, Adelaide Fringe looks very, very different this year because of the COVID restrictions and everything. So tell us a little bit about where the idea came about to actually film this show.
Well, that was totally Maggie's idea. So we both worked in television and have theatre backgrounds, but have predominantly a theatre background. And so it was a challenge, like an interesting idea as a challenge to create a piece of theatre, but you're going to be filming it, but you don't want to start working on it as if it's a film or a short film even. So you have to kind of keep in mind that it's a theatre piece, but you also have to have in the back of your head how you're going to shoot it. So it was challenging, but really interesting and really like a great experience to do. But yeah, I think, what would you say, Maggie? Why did you want to film it first up?
Well, it's kudos to the Adelaide Fringe Festival. They started this digital component, I think it was last year or the year before, during the pandemic, when Fringe is like the biggest festival in the Southern Hemisphere. And COVID happened, and instead of completely shutting it down, they gave artists the options to continue to create their work. And people, it was anywhere from filmed Zoom readings to filming themselves on a stage, and then I had some friends of mine actually who submitted a play, and it was shot beautifully, and I just thought that is incredible. A theatre piece shot beautifully with beautiful lighting. It was just really interesting to me, and so I was very grateful. Even though the Adelaide Fringe are having live shows this year, they still maintain their digital component, which means that people all around the world have access to the Fringe now. Instead of just travelling to Adelaide, you can enjoy the Fringe from anywhere on the globe.
Exactly.
And at any time.
Yeah. And Maggie, you flew to LA to actually film it. Tell us a little bit about that journey during COVID, and also what it was like actually being there in LA and filming it.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So obviously Ngaire and I are really great friends, and I've visited her several times in Los Angeles. We had planned for Ngaire to direct me via Zoom, and it became clearer and clearer that was going to be a nightmare. And then all of a sudden, the borders for Australians to travel to Los Angeles or to America opened, and we just jumped on it. We thought, okay, fantastic. And that was just before the Omicron surge happened. So yeah, is this going to happen? And there was a few flight delays, and I stayed in LA a couple of days longer than I expected trying to get home. But at the end of the day, yeah, we managed to film it all, and it was thrilling.
And Ngaire, you also brought Ben Prendergast on to help film as well. Tell us a little bit about Ben and his background and what he brought to the show as well.
Well, Ben and I worked together at Red Stitch Actors Theatre for many years, and he is a brilliant actor, but also just great behind the scenes. So we also shot a film together last year that's kind of doing the festival circuit at the moment. So we have a really good working relationship, and we needed to keep it really, I think because of the personal nature of the show, how quickly we had to film it, we're aware that, you know, the more people you get involved, the longer things take and the more decisions have to be made. So we wanted to keep the crew really small, which we did. It's 3 people, which is kind of insane for Ben. He really had the most technical wizardry to do on the days that we were filming, and then in the editing room as well, we had a lot of work to do. So yeah, that's, you know, we were just really happy to have him on board and have a technical. We're not technical wizards.
Yeah.
So it was nice to have someone who could fulfill that role so well.
Ngaire, I guess it wants me to ask a big question now. Do you think this is the future for theatre as well? Because with theatre companies that we know and love here in Melbourne, like Red Stitch and La Mama, this being able to film productions now that so many people have done during COVID, it actually gives theatre productions a worldwide audience rather than just a local audience. Can you see theatre companies and performers going forward embracing this technology that we seem to have all learnt about now during COVID?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that theatre companies embracing, you know, getting theatre out there in its original, as much of it being in its original form as possible, is a wonderful thing. It's different from watching a film or watching a television show. The fact that it can reach more people, that playwrights' work can reach more people, is incredible. And the National Theatre have done a brilliant job of it for years, filming their theatre shows. But, you know, on the flip side of that is like, God, no, I hope not, you know, like as a performer and any creative that works in theatre, I think there's something about having a real live audience there that you just cannot replicate. And for the audience as well, like,
yeah,
the show that you film is so different from the show with a live audience. It's a different beast. It's not better or worse.
Yep.
But be able to each night have the audience actually inform how the show goes and what messages are getting through and how the audience feels affects how the actors feel, and that's such a beautiful thing. I really hope that doesn't go away.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a writer as well, and I know that people have approached me in the past about filming some of the stuff that I've had performed, and yeah, I feel the same way. And I also feel that it does feel more like a film when you sit down to watch a theatre production and it's been filmed. It does. It takes on that kind of feeling of a film rather than a theatre piece for me.
It has to a degree. We were really conscious of it when we were figuring out how to film it. And when we were rehearsing it, we only got 3 days to rehearse it together in the space before we shot it. We shot it in 3 days as well. But we were so conscious of having very long takes, a lot of, like, Maggie was, rehearsing and learning the monologues and different scenes and pieces as if it's to an audience. And we really wanted that to be, like, ever present throughout the whole show, that we really feel like, we're not using too many filmic tricks. We're saying, this is theatre, this is raw. Like, sometimes she slips up on a word and we just, like, roll with it, because that's, like, we want it to have that kind of raw storytelling nature.
Definitely. Now, Maggie, I guess a big question for you. What would you like audience members to go away from this production feeling?
My hope is that audience members will watch the production and think a little bit more about how they treat their beautiful bodies and themselves, and just think of the bigger picture, that the gift of the body as the vehicle that we live our lives, that we drive through life in, instead of punishing it. I think just a little shift, in even just a tiny shift in perspective, I would be very, very thrilled with.
Definitely. Now, Ngaire, the important question, if people want to check out Fcking Ancient, how do they check out the show during Adelaide Fringe?
Yeah, we should ask Maggie this question, because I don't have the little flyer on me. Maggie, you will have it in front of you.
So the audience goes to adelaidefringe.com.au, and then in the search engine, if they put the name of our show in, which is F and then the star, and then the rest of that word, Ancient, it's available from this Friday the 18th of February all the way through to March 20th on demand, so they can watch it anytime, anywhere. But yes, adelaidefringe.com.au.
And for anyone listening on radio at the moment, we will actually share a link on the socials for people that want to be able to get tickets that way. And also for anyone who's listening on the podcast, just go directly beneath where you found the podcast and the link will be there for you as well. Maggie, Ngaire, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today. I can't wait to sit down and watch this show as well. So I'm hoping a lot of our listeners feel the same way.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.